Okay, viewers, I've been sitting on this for months, trying to convince myself it didn't happen, but I can't shake it. I need to get it out, even if you all think I'm insane. This is long, so grab a snack. It's about the 3 nights I spent in the hospital last fall, and the thing that wouldn't leave me alone. It started with a stupid accident. I'm a welder, and one day I got careless with a torch. Burned my left arm bad, 3rd degree, skin peeling like melted plastic. The pain was unreal, and after a trip to the ER, they admitted me to St. Agnes Hospital for observation and a skin graft. I'd never been admitted before, just stitches and x-rays, so I was already on edge. Hospitals creep me out, the bleach smell, the beeping machines, the way everyone whispers like they're hiding something. But I figured I'd be in and out in a couple days. Nope. They put me in room 12B, a single with a view of the parking lot. The bed was stiff, the pillow flat, and the fluorescent lights buzzed like dying flies. My nurse, a tired-looking woman named Carla, hooked me up to 4 antibiotics and pain meds, and told me to rest. The graft was scheduled for the next morning, so I tried to sleep. That's when it started. I'd been drifting off, the morphine making everything fuzzy, when I heard this sound. It was faint, like someone dragging a chair across the floor, but it was coming from inside the room. I opened my eyes, expecting to see Carla or an orderly, but it was just me. The clock on the wall said 1:17 a.m. I lay there, heart thumping, telling myself it was nothing. Pipes, maybe, or the building settling. Then it happened again, louder, like metal scraping concrete, and this time it was right by my bed. I sat up, wincing as the 4 tugged my arm, and scanned the room. Nothing. The curtain by the window was still, the door was shut, and my tray table hadn't moved. I hit the call button, and Carla showed up a few minutes later, looking annoyed. "You okay?" she asked, adjusting my pillow like I'd woken her up for no reason. "Did you hear that noise? Like something scraping?" She cocked her head, listening, but it was quiet now. Probably the HVAC. Old building, lots of quirks. Try to sleep. She left, and I felt like an idiot. I chalked it up to the drugs and closed my eyes. The next time I woke up, it wasn't to a sound, it was a feeling. You know that prickly sensation when someone's watching you? My skin crawled with it. I opened my eyes, and the room was dark except for the green glow of the heart monitor. I turned my head, and that's when I saw it, a shadow. It was tall, hunched, standing by the foot of my bed. Not a person, just this blurry, black shape, like smoke with edges. I blinked, thinking it was a trick of the light, but it didn't move. It just stood there. I couldn't scream, my throat locked up. I fumbled for the call button, my burned arm screaming in protest, and mashed it. The shadow didn't flinch. It stayed there, silent, until the door creaked open and Carla's flashlight beam cut through the room. Then it was gone, like it had never been there. "What's wrong?" she asked, sounding more worried this time. "There was something, someone, here," I stammered, pointing at the empty space. "Right there." She swept the light around, checked under the bed, even opened the bathroom door. "Nothing. You're on heavy meds," she said gently. "They can mess with your head. I'll get you some water." I didn't argue, but I knew it wasn't the morphine. I'd felt it, cold, heavy, like it was pressing down on the air. I barely slept after that, just stared at the ceiling until dawn broke and they wheeled me off for surgery. The graft went fine, or so they told me. I was out cold for it, and when I came to, I was back in 12B, arm bandaged up like a mummy. The surgeon stopped by, said everything looked good, and I'd be discharged in a day or 2 if there were no complications. I nodded, still groggy, but all I could think about was getting the hell out of that room. That night, though, it got worse. I'd been dozing, fitful, sweaty sleep, when I heard the scraping again. This time it was rhythmic, like footsteps dragging across tile. I kept my eyes shut, praying it'd stop, but it didn't. It got closer, circling the bed, and then I heard breathing. Not mine was shallow, panicked. This was deep, wet, like someone with fluid in their lungs. I cracked my eyes open, and there it was again, the shadow. But now it wasn't just standing, it was leaning over me. I could see more of it this time, not details, but impressions. Long arms, too long, dangling past where knees should have been. A head that tilted wrong, like it was broken. And eyes, God, the eyes. They weren't bright or glowing like in movies, just dark pits that sucked in the light. It was inches from my face, and I felt this icy draft, like it was pulling the warmth out of me. I screamed then, loud enough to hurt my own ears, and thrashed against the restraints holding my forearm. The shadow jerked back, and the door flew open. Carla and another nurse this time, a guy with a beard. The room lit up, and it was gone again. What happened? Carla asked, checking my vitals while Beard Guy scanned the room. There's something in here, I said, voice shaking. It was right over me. You have to move me. I can't stay here. They exchanged a look. Not the, he's crazy, look I expected, but something else. Fear, maybe? Carla sighed. I'll talk to the charge nurse. We're full, but I'll see what I can do. Beard Guy stayed while she left. I asked him, you've seen it too, haven't you? He didn't answer right away, just fiddled with the monitor. Then he muttered, this wing's old. Stuff happens. Don't talk about it too loud. Carla came back an hour later and said they'd move me to 8C in the morning, newer wing, more traffic. I just had to make it through the night. She gave me a sedative, promised to check on me, and left. I didn't want to sleep, but my body had other plans. I woke up to silence. No beeps, no hum from the machines. The room was pitch black, power out, and I was alone. Or I thought I was. Then I heard it, a voice. Not words, just this low, guttural hum, like someone moaning through a busted throat. It was coming from the corner by the bathroom. I couldn't move, sedative had me pinned, but I could turn my head. The shadow was there, taller now, filling the space from floor to ceiling. It didn't have a face anymore, just those eyes, and they were locked on me. The hum turned into a hiss, and it started moving, not walking, but gliding, like oil spreading across water. It stopped at my side, and I felt pressure on my chest, like hands pushing down. I couldn't breathe, couldn't scream, just wheezed as it leaned closer. The cold was unbearable, my teeth chattered, my fingers went numb. I thought I was dying, that it was going to crush me or drag me off somewhere. Then the lights snapped on. The pressure lifted, the shadow vanished, and Carla was there, shaking me. You stopped breathing, she said, voice tight. Your monitor flatlined. We lost power for a minute. I couldn't talk, just pointed at the corner, trembling. She didn't ask questions, just unhooked me and rolled my bed into the hall herself. I spent the rest of the night under the fluorescent glare of the nurse's station, surrounded by chatter and coffee smells. They moved me to 8C at sunrise, and I didn't see the shadow again. Discharged 2 days later, arm healing, but I was a wreck. Here's the part one haven't told anyone IRL. I looked up street. Agnes after I got out. It's old, built in the 40s, and the wing with 12B used to be a TB ward. Hundreds died there, patients left to rot when the funding dried up. People online say it's haunted, but the stories are vague, footsteps, whispers, shadows. Nothing like what I saw. I called Carla a month later, pretending to check in, and asked about 12B. She went quiet, then said, we don't put people there anymore unless we have to. Too many complaints. I'm not religious, but I keep a light on when I sleep now. I can still feel those eyes sometimes, like it's waiting for me to slip back into the dark. Has anyone else dealt with something like this? I need to know I'm not losing it. Okay, viewers, I've been lurking here forever, but this is my first post because I need to get this off my chest. It's been 8 months since my hospital stay, and I still can't explain what happened. I'm not a writer, so bear with me. This is gonna be long and messy, but I swear it's true. Last July, I got into a car accident. Nothing crazy, just a busted leg after some idiot ran a red light. Ended up at Mercy General with a fractured tibia. Surgery went fine, but they kept me for a few days to monitor swelling. That's where it got weird. They stuck me in room 204, second floor, overlooking a courtyard. It was a double room, but the other bed was empty, which I thought was a win. Privacy, right? First day was normal. Pain meds, bad jello, nurses popping in. I was loopy from the Percocet, but nothing wild. That night, though, I woke up around 3 to pee. Leg was in a cast, so I had to hobble with crutches. The room was dark, just the glow from the bathroom light I'd left on. As I swung my legs off the bed, I glanced at the other side of the room, and froze. There was a guy standing there, tall, thin, wearing one of those old-school hospital gowns with the ties in the back. He wasn't moving, just staring at me. His face was pale, eyes sunken, like he hadn't slept in weeks. I blinked, thinking I was still doped up, but he didn't go away. Hey, man, you okay? I croaked, voice shaky. No answer. He just kept staring, head tilted slightly, like he was studying me. I hit the call button, heart pounding, and a nurse, Jen, I think her name was, came in. I pointed at the guy, but when she flipped on the lights, he was gone. Poof, empty corner. There was someone here, I said, feeling like an idiot. She frowned, checked the bathroom, even the closet. Nothing. Meds can do funny things, she said, patting my shoulder. Try to rest. But I couldn't. I kept seeing those eyes, hollow, unblinking. Next day, I asked the orderly, Mike, if anyone else had been in the room. He shrugged. Not since yesterday. You're solo. I let it go, figured it was a hallucination. Surgery, drugs, stress, makes sense, right? But that night, it happened again. I'd been reading on my phone, trying to stay awake, when I felt it, that prickly, someone's watching vibe. I looked up, and there he was, same spot, same gown. This time, I noticed his hands, long, bony, dangling at his sides. He didn't move, didn't blink, just stared. I yelled, "What do you want?" Loud enough to wake the dead, ironic huh, and he vanished. Not faded, not walked away, gone, like a light switching off. I didn't sleep after that. Told Jen I wanted a new room, but she said they were full. It's just nightmares, she insisted. I didn't buy it. Day 3, I was a wreck, bags under my eyes, jumping at every shadow. Mike brought me coffee, and I asked him straight up, this place haunted or what? He hesitated, then said, people see stuff sometimes. Old hospital, lotta history. That's it, no details, just enough to freak me out more. Last night was the worst. I'd begged for a sedative, anything to knock me out. They gave me something mild, said I'd be discharged in the morning. I drifted off, and that's when I heard it, a shuffle, like slippers on tile. My eyes snapped open, and he was right there, inches from my face. His breath hit my cheek, cold, stale, like damp earth. I couldn't move, couldn't scream, just stared into those black hole eyes. He opened his mouth, and this raspy whisper came out. Not words, just noise, like static mixed with a groan. Then he was gone, and I was screaming, thrashing so hard I ripped my 4 out. Jen and Mike ran in, found me bleeding on the floor, babbling about him. They cleaned me up, moved me to a hallway cot, apparently a room opened up, and I got out at dawn. Legs fine now, but I'm not. I dug into Mercy General's past after. Built in 1920, used to be a sanatorium. Tons of deaths, TB, flu, you name it. Forums say room 204's active, patients report a watcher, who shows up at night. Some old-timer said a guy died there in '63, botched surgery, never left. I don't know what I saw, but it wasn't a dream. Anyone else been through this? I need answers. Hey viewers, I've been debating posting this for weeks, but I can't keep it in anymore. I'm still coughing sometimes, even though the docs say I'm fine. This is about my hospital stay 2 weeks ago, 3 nights in street. Looks that I'll never unsee. It's long, it's messy, and I don't care if you think I'm nuts. I need someone to read this and tell me what the hell I experienced. Buckle up. It started with pneumonia. I'm 29, a graphic designer, usually healthy, but I'd been ignoring a cold that turned into a freight train, fever, chills, a cough that sounded like I was drowning. By the time I dragged myself to the ER, my oxygen levels were tanking. They pumped me full of 4 antibiotics, did a chest x-ray, lungs looked like a snowstorm, they said, and admitted me. I got room 317, 3rd floor, a single with a window facing a brick wall. The place reeked of bleach and something sour, like old mop water. My bed was under a big, rusty vent, 2 feet square, bolted into the ceiling, rattling like it was about to fall. They hooked me to a nasal cannula, oxygen hissing into my nose, and told me to rest. Yeah, right. First night, I was wiped, fever broke, but I felt like a wet rag. The vents clanking kept me up, a constant thunk-thunk like a heartbeat in the walls. I'd nod off, then jolt awake, chest tight, thinking I'd stopped breathing. Around midnight, I heard something new, scratches, faint but sharp, like nails dragging on metal. It was coming from the vent. I squinted up, eyes blurry from exhaustion, and figured it was a rat. Hospitals are old, right? Full of critters. It stopped after a minute, so I rolled over, pulled the thin blanket to my chin, and tried to sleep. Woke up later, clock said 2:43 a.m. to a different sound, tapping. Slow, deliberate, like someone rapping their knuckles on a desk. Tap, tap, tap. It was rhythmic, too precise to be random. I stared at the vent, heart thudding against my ribs, and saw movement, a shadow shifting behind the slats, quick and jerky, like a hand pulling back. My mouth went dry. I fumbled for the call button, hands shaky, and pressed it. The tapping stopped, but that shadow stayed, hovering just out of clear sight. The nurse, Tom, showed up, a lanky guy with a buzz cut and a "I've seen it all" smirk. "What's up?" he asked, adjusting my oxygen tube like I'd called him for fun. "There's something in the vent," I said, voice raspy. "It's scratching, tapping. Look at it." He glanced up, shrugged. "Probably a squirrel or something. Maintenance'll check it tomorrow. You're on a lot of meds. Rest." He left, and I wanted to scream after him, but my lungs ached too much. I lay there, staring at the vent, waiting for it to start again. It didn't, but I barely slept, jumping at every creak. Next morning, I felt marginally human, fever down, cough less wet. A doctor, Dr. Patel, checked me out, said the antibiotics were working, but I'd stay another night for observation. I asked her about the vent. "Old building," she said, scribbling on her clipboard. "The HVAC's ancient. Don't worry about it." Easy for her to say. She wasn't sleeping under it. I spent the day texting friends, scrolling X, trying to distract myself. A janitor, Luis, came by to empty the trash, and I asked him if he'd ever heard stuff in the vents. He paused, mop in hand, then muttered, "Yeah, sometimes. Weird noises. It's nothing." His eyes darted to the ceiling, though, and he left fast. That night, I was determined to prove I wasn't crazy. I propped my phone on the tray table, angled the camera at the vent, and hit record. Low battery, but enough for a few hours. The nurses had upped my steroids, and my head was buzzing, but I stayed awake, listening. Around 1 a.m., it started again. Scratches, louder this time, like claws digging into steel. Then the tapping, faster, insistent. I aimed my phone's flashlight up, hands trembling, and caught it. Eyes, big, round, reflective, like a cat's caught in headlights, staring down through the grate. They blinked, slow and deliberate, and the shadow moved, slithering, not scampering, out of the beam. I dropped the phone, yanked the oxygen tube off, and stumbled into the hall, coughing so hard I saw stars. Tom found me slumped against the wall, wheezing. "What are you doing?" he snapped, calling me back to bed. "There's something up there," I croaked, pointing. "I saw eyes. It's not a damn rat." He rolled his eyes, checked the vent with his own flashlight. "Nothing. You're freaking out over shadows. Fever can mess with you." I showed him my phone, but the video was gone, static, then black, battery dead. He sighed, adjusted my cannula, and left. I didn't sleep, just stared at the vent, waiting. Day 3, I was a wreck, bags under my eyes, hands shaky from steroids and fear. Patel said my x-rays looked better, but they'd keep me one more night to be safe. I begged to switch rooms, said I'd sleep in the hall if I had to. "We're at capacity," she said, apologetic but firm. "You're almost out of here, just hang on." I couldn't hang on. That vent was alive, and no one believed me. I asked Luis again when he mopped the floor, "You ever see anything up there?" He hesitated, then whispered, "Heard stuff." His sin, sometimes. "Don't look too long." He bolted, and I felt ice in my veins. Last night broke me. I'd turned every light on, overhead, bathroom, even the little reading lamp, flooding the room with harsh white. I sat up, back against the wall, watching the vent. Around 2 a.m., it started, hissing, low and wet, like air leaking from a punctured lung. The grate rattled, just a little, then harder, like something was pushing against it. I grabbed my water pitcher, ready to throw it, when I saw it. A shape, dark and fluid, oozing out from the edge of the vent. Not smoke, not liquid, solid, but wrong, like a hand made of tar, stretching toward me. Long fingers curled, reaching, and the hissing turned sharp, angry. I screamed, flung the pitcher. It hit the ceiling, cracked, water splashing everywhere, and mashed the call button. The hand pulled back, but the grate kept shaking. Then it popped open, screws loose, metal groaning, and I saw more. A face, pale and eyeless, pressed against the opening, mouth gaping wide, black and toothless. It moved, crawling out, limbs bending wrong, like a spider birthing itself from the duct. The hissing became a shriek, piercing, and I threw my pillow, my tray, anything I could grab. It flinched, hissed louder, then retreated as footsteps pounded down the hall. Tom burst in with Dr. Patel, lights flickering from my thrashing. The vent was open, dangling, but empty. What happened? Dar. Patel demanded, checking my pulse, racing, obviously. It came out. I yelled, pointing. It was here. Tom climbed on the bed, peered into the vent with a flashlight. Nothing but dust and cobwebs. Pressure buildup, he said, climbing down. Old ducks do that. Dar. Patel looked shaken, though. We'll move you to a cot downstairs, she said. You're discharged in the morning anyway. I spent the night in the lobby, under bright lights, nurses bustling around. Couldn't sleep, kept hearing that hiss in my head. They let me go at 8 a.m. Lungs, clear, they said. I wasn't clear. At home, I researched Street. Luke's, built in the 50s, had a psych ward that closed in '89 after unethical experiments. Forums say patients died up there, locked in isolation rooms, some escaping into the vents. One story stuck: a guy in '87, schizophrenic, climbed into the ducts, never found. People hear hissing, see shadows. Staff won't talk about it. I'm home now, apartment vent free, but I hear tapping at night, faint, from the walls. I sleep with the TV on, loud, drowning it out. I can't go back to Street. Luke's, can't even drive past it. Whatever's in that vent, it knows me now. Anyone else seen this? I need to know I'm not alone.